Thing. Go ahead, Vic.
Welcome to the Cincinnati Herald's weekly high school basketball report, where we cover both girls and boys basketball, trying to give you an update on what's happening in the city and maybe even the tri-state with high school girls and boys basketball. I'm Victor Hunter. I'm here with my partners, Coach Lannis Timmons and Coach Walter White. Coach White is going to cover girls basketball, and he'll jump in a little bit with some boys, and Coach Timmons is going to cover the boys with myself, and we'll try to be interactive here and give you some good information. We also want to encourage you as coaches, parents, and even players that are into the social media to contact us so we can give your team some coverage and just reveal what you're doing to the city, maybe help some kids get into school. So again, we'll get moving here with our weekly basketball report. We're gonna give it to Coach Timmons first.
I had the opportunity to see North College Hill, and I was really impressed with them. Coach Shannon Minor, he plays about 8 kids, and his tallest kid that he starts is about 6'2". But these kids, they play so hard, they play together. Basketball IQ is at top of the level. I was impressed with young kid Lorenzo Sparks and Charles Swain. These guys, man, you talking about somebody getting after it on the defensive end, offensive end, and I'll tell you another thing too. I like their team leadership. When their teammates got down by the situation, I liked how they went over there and just kind of encouraged the kid, pat him on the back, and I'm talking about both of them. And I can see why they having the type of season that they have right now.
I was able to see Princeton and Deer Park. I want to put emphasis on those two particular teams with the boys basketball in. The Princeton team has jumped in the rankings. They've jumped over Moeller. They've maintained their undefeated status. They beat a third-ranked Mason team, and we're talking city rankings. They beat a third-ranked Mason team by 29 points, 75 to 46 at Mason. Dominant performance. They shared the ball. Want to acknowledge Dominic Pierce also. We talked about Darius Baisley, who most of us know, kid signed with Syracuse, really good player. Talked about Darwishi Hunter. We featured him last week as our recruitable student athlete. But this kid, Dominic Pierce, and we always talk about the lineage, the genes. We remember Mike Peak at Woodward. This is his son. Really good game against Mason. He and Darwishi Hunter and Darius Baisley had, I believe, 16, 16, and 17 points, respectively, in a dominant performance. Was able to go see Deer Park, interviewed two assistant coaches, Coach Reggie Rebels and Coach Eric Washington. Eric Washington coaches the AAU team of Eric Gordon, the standout with the Houston Rockets, and then interviewed Coach Steve Gentry at length. Was able to interact with the kids in the locker room, in the hallway after the game, and then watching them play. Very mannerable group of young men. They couldn't have known to behave a certain way. It's quite natural. And it's so impressive because they didn't know we were coming. And they were, yes sir, no sir, just a really good group of kids. I believe they have 8 honor roll students on their team. Really versatile basketball team. They run the floor well. I was telling the coaches, they remind me of an old school team, the Arkansas Razorbacks, back when they had Moncrief and Delphin Brewer, where they had pretty good sized guards that could play around the basket and outside. This young kid, Mark Wise, is a sophomore. This kid's a stud, 6'3", real strong, and I didn't know whether or not he could shoot. And then he comes down and knocks down a couple of threes, made free throws consistently. So really good basketball team. And we'll share some more information about them. Coach Timmons, can you sort of piggyback on what you've seen with that same Deer Park team?
I had the opportunity to see them against Indian Hill. Both teams came in undefeated, and the gym was packed, sold out. Anticipation was out the wazoo. But I was just impressed with the way they played. Deer Park, they press you. They're gonna press you if they make a basket or if they miss one. And the kids, they understand rotations. They communicated with each other very well, which made their job easier. You know, that's what we always talk about with kids is communicating, talking, you know. And I was very, very impressed with that. Also, the guys who we brought in off the bench, man, those guys, they did not lose a beat. And the one kid, was it McIntyre, I think that is? Yes. Matter of fact, I had a chance to sit with his grandmother. And this kid, he was the first one that got a dunk in the game. Because I wasn't used to seeing Deer Park dunk. So when I seen this kid get up and throw it down with two hands, I was like, man. But also, I reached out to Reggie Rebels and head coach Steve Gentry. And I told them, I said, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of games this year. But I think you guys and Hughes had the best guard tandem so far that I've seen. And I just think that the sky's the limit. You know, because I'm all about the tournament. And the tournament will be here before you know it. And I think the way they're going right now, the momentum, if they don't have any injuries, they can make some real noise.
That sophomore class is loaded. Deshaun McIntyre is a sophomore. He's a cousin of Damani McIntyre. Damani McIntyre is a kid that went from the state of Indiana to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, was on the B team, was slated to play on the A team, but they recruited some really good players, and he chose to come on back, play somewhere else. So Deer Park is a beneficiary of that. And this kid's getting some interest from the Navy, Pittsburgh, UC, and Xavier. Really good basketball player. He was a kid that you were referring to with the dunking. And they go, what do you say, goes 9?
I say about 9 deep. And they got that one kid that's coming off he transferred. So he had to sit out 11 games. So he can ready to come in and be eligible to play real soon. I think the next game up for these guys.
And they have about 4 or 5 really good sophomores and a couple of juniors. So they'll be good moving forward. And again, what's really impressive is these kids do it in the classroom as well. So we're going to turn it over to Coach White for girls basketball report.
Well, I've had a great opportunity the last 2 weeks to see a lot of girls' games. One of my major responsibilities, aka what I do now, is I scout games. So I've actually run into Coach Timmons. I haven't run into the coach yet, but I know we'll eventually see each other soon because I do go to boys' games, but my focus on girls' games. What I've been impressed with is just some of the teams that the girls are very, very dedicated to this sport called basketball. Now, normally, the girls will always pretty much stay on those academics. So when you see them on academics strong and actually doing that game strong, it really takes you aback. Now, I want to see, and we speak of pedigree, I'm going to talk about 2 young ladies, 2 groups. One is the Herald sisters at West Claremont. The senior, her name is, let me make sure I get her name right here. Jasmine Hale. She's going to Wisconsin. Good ball player for sure. Mother was a soccer player at Florida State. Father was a basketball player at Florida State, so that's where the mother and father met.
How tall is she?
She's about 6'1". They got her listed as 6'1", 5'11", 6 foot. She's going to just basically evolve after she gets to college because, you know, you get that advanced training in college. She got a freshman sister. Now, Jasmine is the ball handler. She's also the one who shoots in critical situations and leading scorer. But let me tell you, that freshman sister, she goes to the cup straight up. She can shoot from the outside, but her dominance is going to that cup. I'm sitting there saying, yeah, Lord, if those 2 girls could be together for 2 or 3 years, the city would be in trouble. Then they have the Starks girl. Starks' daughter plays for
Talking Keith
Stark, Alexis Stark. Yeah. She's going to play in college too. She's about 5'11", 6 foot. She plays in the pivot now, but she likes to shoot that long range jumper, and she's very good with it. Yeah, she's very good.
Has she lost weight?
She's still going to be a strong one, but they'll work that out when she gets to college. Right. You know how they are about college. Now I'm gonna throw a few out here to you that kind of caught me off guard because I actually saw West Claremont play Macaulay. I had no idea what Macaulay was made of, okay, because I'm scouting them for a different reason, aka tournament, not league. And West Claremont was league. The Fleming girl, and I guess I didn't put two and two together.
Yes.
Okay, and West Claremont jumped out on them and just started pounding them. And next thing you know, this little 5'4" guard, number 25, whose name is Lexis Fleming.
No, which team is this?
This is Macaulay,
So we're talking Dan's
daughter.
Dan's daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
She came out and she lit the house up. And I'm like, who is this girl? And then I just didn't put the names together until I started reading later on. I go, oh my God, that's Fleming's daughter.
Right.
She brought it back and they won. Now, Walden Hills right now is 10-1. They play Kings tonight. They're putting a lot of fear into the leagues right now. And I say leagues, not just their league, because they're running a lot of sophomores. They only have one senior that started. They lost a young lady in preseason to ACL tear, who was the other senior. But Reagan Henderson, she's an excellent player. And then you have this young lady, A.J. Jenkins. Her sister played for Walnut 3 years ago. And she originally went to Furman in North Carolina.
yeah.
And now she's
Furman.
at Furman.
Furman, I
And now she's at Florida A&M.
Gotcha.
Her sophomore sister.
She ran track too. didn't
Yes.
she? I know you
She's a
talking.
sophomore. Her sister's a sophomore at Walnut, and she's running point because Walnut lost that point to Mason this year. Yeah, but you know they're working on her becoming a strong point guard. She got some way to go, but she's a sophomore. But they've been able to just put straight speed, strength, and quickness together and dominate folks. They are actually 10-1. The only team they lost to was Hoover High School out of Alabama, ranked number 8 in the nation in the girls category. So those are just some names. Now, girls basketball is a week ahead of boys basketball.
Yes.
So they're about they're 12 to 13 games in.
Yes.
So we're at the midpoint, a little bit beyond the midpoint. The standings are shaking out. The same big dogs are there. Mount Notre Dame, Lakota West, Mason. Now Walden Hills has been perennial number 5 over the past 4 or 5 years. They're trying to get up that number 4 slot. And I think right now, after seeing Macaulay, that would be the team they were going to have to leapfrog to get to that number 4 spot.
Now, who are Macaulay's players again? Top couple of players.
Top couple of players for Macaulay is
You said Alexis.
Lexis. No, you said West Claremont top players.
No, Macaulay's.
Okay, Macaulay's is Lexi Flemings
Okay.
and Kate O'Connor.
Okay.
Another just straight up jump shooter, and Cassie Timmons. And this 5'9" forward will take you to the hole. And they're deceptive because they're not that tall, but they're coached very well.
Now, who does the Starks kid play?
She plays with West Claremont,
She's with West
which is the new
Claremont.
school,
Okay.
which was Amelia and Glen Essie.
Gotcha.
And they combined schools. So now you got an East Claremont and a West
West
Claremont.
Who's coaching West Claremont? Do you know the coach?
The West Claremont coach, what is his name? Gotcha. His name is Jeff Click.
Okay.
Jeff Click.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, Jeff Click.
Keith Starks coached his daughter with the Cincinnati Finest, has for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And she's a good player. What position is she playing?
Well,
Alexis Starks?
because she's 5'11" and this is high school, they got her out playing center.
Okay.
But
She's able to stretch the floor.
she stretched the floor. She
Okay.
stretched the floor. She's got work to do physically, but again, they're high school.
What size is the Fleming kid?
They list her as 5'5".
Yeah.
I give her 5'3.5", but boy, she's a Fleming. She
Yeah.
can put that ball in the hole.
And when we
Okay.
talk about Fleming, we're talking about Dan Fleming, state championship coach at LaSalle, who stepped down, going to different things with his life, but just did a tremendous job as a coach. I also had a question with regard to the two sisters. You said one was a freshman. What size do we have for the freshman height?
freshman, she's Kendall Hale is 5'11", and she'll probably grow an inch or two. Now, you know girls grow fast,
Sure.
but if she gets up to 6'1", one thing I like about both of them is, of course, their father, he's trained them, and I know his last name is Hale. I did chat with him for quite a bit when we were at the game. He's about 6'6",
Really?
and he played with Pat Kennedy at
Yeah.
Florida State.
Right.
They have what I talk about all the time. And I'm going to go back to our generation and say, look at the fact that before we learned how to play basketball, we looked at a ton of basketball. Before we learned how to play organized basketball, we played a lot of basketball. So when we looked at games, we gained something called basketball IQ. When we got into organized ball, we learned the structure of basketball. I fret a lot about a lot of the kids now don't have a high level of basketball IQ because they don't look at a ton of games because that's how you learn basketball IQ.
Also, go ahead. Well, I'm sorry.
And I was going to just say, these girls got basketball IQ.
I was gonna say, to add on to that, a lot of kids, when they watch basketball, they won't even have the sound on. They'll be listening to music. So a lot of times they don't get the chance to hear what the commentators are saying. And that's where they lose out on understanding what to do in certain situations.
Right.
Because 9 out of 10 times, the commentator's gonna say something about that particular situation. And that's why I think a lot of these younger kids fall short at. And it used to bother me. It would be a good game coming on, you know, say like on a Tuesday night or whatever. Then you come to practice Wednesday, you have some kids say, "You see the game?" And they go, "What game?"
And Coach,
I'm
you
telling
make
you,
an
it's
excellent
just
point.
funny, man.
Some of the
It's
analysts
crazy.
are so helpful with their basketball IQ, their input, and some of the analysts are so good that they end up getting jobs as a result of the way they analyze games. And it's like, what was
Group.
Kennedy for Kentucky, just brilliant. When you hear him, I look forward to hearing him talk about basketball and the language that goes with it. I know for us, we always tell the kids, if you could take your youth and athleticism, stamina, and combine that with the wisdom of an older player, you know, I always tell the kids to go play with older players to
Right.
watch how they play the game. You know.
Well, and I think what you find in reference to IQ, I jump on that topic a lot. I preached it a lot when I was a head coach and an assistant coach. There are just times in the game when you win the game.
Right.
And if you don't have somebody out there, AKA your point guard, or forward, or a senior leader, or a junior leader, to say, pull the ball back, we up by 5, there's 28 seconds to go, don't go rushing to try to make a shot and get the ball back to the team to come down and shoot a 3, because when we played, there were no 3s.
Right.
So you couldn't bust the game in the last minute with a 3. But I whisper in the kids' ears, you need to do simple things like, if there's a press coming, reverse dribble. So you can look at the floor. And then we all know the basics. Reverse it, middle, attack the basket. But what we need to remember is, just as Coach Timmons said, they're not getting those pieces. So when you get out here and compete against teams, AKA the Molars, AKA the Princetons, the Masons, they getting all of that. So we have to remember that this sport is an intelligent sport.
Oh, yeah.
The game is so much easier. We always say when you play, you know, it's above the shoulders. It's an easy game when you think the game. You can
Right.
play with some hobble and some other issues, a cold, the flu, whatever, because you have a basketball IQ and understanding. You can rest on the floor without calling timeouts.
Timeout.
You know, and it's just a matter of that knowledge of the game. You know, the thing, Coach, that you're talking about too, that kids have to understand is situational
Right.
basketball. You know, you come down and you're wide open at the beginning of the game, you're a good shooter, it's a great 3. But here we are at the end of the game, no shot clock issues. You're wide open again. It's not a good shot, we're up 2 points.
Right.
You know, we
You
got
don't
to
need
force
your
the, you're
break.
right, you got to force the foul, or, you know, because here we go again with the teaching points of the basketball and the IQ. Time, score, and situation are three things that all of you young players should know about basketball. Every players on the bench, all the assistant coaches, certainly the head coaches, players on the floor. Time, score, situation, it dictates how the game is played. You know, coming down the wire. We'd have fun with the kids in practice, and they owned it. Go home, and today, Walt, or tomorrow, we're going to do a situation, but you're going to develop it for us. So you may come back, you know, saying it's 3 minutes in the game. We you know, certain players have 3 fouls, 4s. They're in a double bonus, 4 fouls. They're in a double bonus. This is the score, and we play with a challenge before us. Tomorrow, Lannis, you're a player, not Coach Timmons. Lannis, tomorrow or the day after, it's your responsibility to give us a situation. So one of the reasons a lot of teams don't perform well in situations in the game because they don't practice situations.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's new to you instead of you putting those things together and practicing them.
And then there's some situations, if I may say, that are automatic. Like if they're in double bonus and you up by 5 or 6, everything's to the basket. No jump shots.
Exactly.
So if you're in double bonus, you go to the line, bang, bang. You're going to make 1 and you're probably going to make 2. But what I've seen, which runs me crazy, but I'm not the coach of these teams, so I don't make mention of it, is people shooting shots, as Lannis said, when they're not necessary. But again, when you win in the game, and that's why a lot of schools, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I don't want to sound like I'm biased to any one segment of the school systems, will win games because the last 10 minutes is pretty much all situation. And some people say those games are boring. I get that. But your talent can't always overcome boring if boring is executing in a very proper fashion.
And Coach, the best talent doesn't always win. The best team it does.
That's right.
You know, when you're able to pick and roll and pass and cut and give and go, some of the old school terms that have never gone away. They're still very effective methods of playing basketball. Again, you take these young players and you incorporate those things with their games. And you're also going to be more appealing to a lot of coaches because they look at you as playing the game intelligently. Basketball IQ is critically important to playing the game of basketball. It's not just about who has the 40-inch vertical, you know, who's the strongest kid who posts up, you know, the animal down low, you know, who's super fast. It's really about understanding how to play basketball. You play real fast teams, and after you shoot, everybody's sprinting back to the paint to kind of neutralize that speed. Or we've already scouted you and strategized. We're going to share in the fouls, you know, to stop your break. And, you know, and Coach, I want to get back to something with what's going on at Deer Park. Again, very impressive team. I believe they could play any team. They're number 1 here in the city, and they're also ranked in the state. Let me see where they are. In the city, they're number 1 with 7 votes. Purcell Marion is coming in at number 2. In the state, Deer Park is also ranked. We have a few local teams that are ranked in the state. And, you know, watching those kids at Deer Park, that basketball IQ kind of stands out with those kids. One of the things that concerns me, and again, don't want to get on the soapbox about this, is that when these kids have chosen to go play for, say they want to play for, I'll use you as an example, Coach, they want to play for Lannis Timmons, reputation precedes you. You can't do that at the school that you're coaching without a whole bunch of investigation and question marks, but some of these same kids can be taken out of, you know, Mount Healthy or Princeton District and go to some other schools. Don't necessarily have to get into names, but I will say that the division with the GCL, and it's almost without anything. It's like it's normal and it's okay. I don't particularly get that, and I hope that changes, because if kids want to go play for certain coaches in this day and age where you get to promote yourself and get college scholarships and coaches are really helping you get there, I don't see what's wrong with that. And back to Deer Park, the OHSAA has investigated these kids, really scrutinized it. I'm understanding they're even recording some kids coming out of their home confirm that they are residents there, and everything is panned out, so I guess they're okay. But you don't see that same scrutiny when a kid from the Aiken district goes to Elder. You know, a kid from Mount Healthy goes to St. X. A kid from Sycamore or Springdale goes to Princeton. You know, my wife was a cheerleader on the state championship football team, and I don't have to name the name, but a kid that lived in the same subdivision as she did in Springdale caught the bus there and another bus to go to Moeller. That's just interesting, and I hope that some of what we do with our show will just cause those things to be talked about and figure out a solution to it. It's just like to jump to the college level with the kid wanting to leave when the coach leaves, but he has to sit out and the coach can go coach immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So things like that. With Princeton coach, what's your thoughts on what you think they might do moving forward if they play the way they played recently, which is sharing the ball, giving it to the right player, the hot man, and then all the talent and depth and the coaching that you know. What are your thoughts about how far they might be able to go this year?
After watching Princeton play Coleraine, Coleraine is really down this year. Princeton beat them 101-38. And yes, and then just keeping up with them in the paper and looking at the different stats. I look at Princeton as a team that can make a real serious tournament run. And when I say that, I'm talking about at least getting to the region, you know, and that's hard. But the good thing about it is that their schedule will help them get ready for the tournament because they have to play so many different styles. You know, they're not talking about Princeton.
Right.
Princeton have to play a lot of different styles. If you look at the teams in their conference, also look at their schedule. These teams, everybody don't play the same way. They play, the same style.
Right.
So that's what I think would help Princeton even more. But Coach Hunter, Coach White, you all were talking earlier, and I wrote this down because I think this need to be said. I think young kids, I think coaches as well need to make sure when we start talking about kids being recruited, okay, do you have basketball IQ? That's one thing a college coach will look at. Do you understand the game? Like you mentioned earlier, if you're at 5 with under a minute to go, you got the ball, do you need to run and shoot a layup? Shoot a jump shot? No, you're going to hold that ball around, you're going to make them move and try to get some of that clock to tick down before you know it. You know, you're in a good situation to win the game. And I think that, you know, when coaches see, college coaches I'm talking about, when they're recruiting you, that's something they want to see too. And another thing too, because I've been to a game, I've been to a number of games, but what bothers me a lot, and kids need to really understand this, the way you carry yourself on that court, well, you can shoot yourself in the foot by not getting the opportunity to play at the college level or play at the college that you desire to play at. So, you know, the way you carry yourself, all your mannerisms and that,
Right.
you know, control it. Keep it under, what's the best word to use? Just keep it under control.
Are you coachable?
Are you coachable? Because, you know, when you come off the floor and showing all these mannerisms and the coach trying to talk to you,
Exactly.
every time somebody got to pull you off to the side and talk to you. All right, the college coach over there looking at you, think he really want to be bothered with you?
Here's
And he
what he
can
does,
go
Coach.
find somebody anywhere in the country almost.
Here's what he does, Coach. I'm taking notes and I see those things.
Close the book
I
on
close it and get up and leave because I was here specifically for
To see
him.
you.
And on my board, guys, you have to understand this, young ladies. As a college coach, I may have 5 kids that I'm recruiting to get 2 spots filled. And so you just eliminated yourself with the attitude and not being a coachable player.
Right.
I think what Lannis and Coach just said is probably the biggest problem for a lot of young people, male and female, but a lot of times male, is this whole idea, and I use the old Southern term, the kid wasn't reared right. The kids have so many social domestic issues. I love his talent, but I just don't love the person. How they carry themselves. Now I want to do one last thing from my standpoint because, and it's Coach Lannis, Timmons, and I actually saw Purcell. I want to throw that out there. I did forget. I'm not doing the boys piece, but I want to throw that out there. We saw Purcell play Roger Bacon 2 Fridays ago and beat them with a comeback in the second half, and went and the following night had Summit Country Day, who was perennial state team, won the championship about 8 years ago, 7 years ago with the Johnson boy, and always going to the regional, but they're in Division II now, a little different journey.
Yeah.
I'll say a lot different journey.
Yes.
And they beat Purcell, Purcell beat Summer Country Day 70-42.
They got them that good?
They put a licking on them. So I'm saying, watch out for that Purcell team. But Deer Park, and it's interesting that Gentry and his coach, Reggie, assistant coach, when I was at Purcell, the thorn in our side was Schroeder, and that was the coaching tandem.
Mm-hmm.
Now here you go again, the thorn in the side of Scott Kerr, the coach at Purcell, and Barry Williams, all our buddy,
Yes.
is Coach Gentry and Coach Reggie. But that makes for good competition. Never any bad blood. Just knock down, drag out, hard fighting kids and coaches who want to be successful and want their kids to be successful. Because you have quite a few college players from both those programs coming from that competition. And now it sounds like you're getting ready to have that again, because there's going to be those 2 and 3 teams in Division III, because Roger Bacon's not there this year.
Nah.
They're not there. They had their run, and their run is done for the time being. He'll reload, but I think this Deer Park is going to be very, very important to the basketball scene this year. And then finally, I want to say this thing about equality. To me, that has to be mentioned when we come to assessing how teams are monitored. Okay, if what is true, what you said, Coach, about them checking out Deer Park,
Sure.
in any school, what they say, old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Absolutely.
Don't put one on the spotlight because they may not be at the same tier as some other schools. We're not saying that there's anything wrong with kids moving from school to school.
Sure.
But the most important part is we can't lose the kid in the shuffle. That kid still needs to be a student, student athlete. They still need to get an education, and they still need to be able to go off to college or some type of training to get a better life. And we can't have this situation where the beneficiary of these kids moving are the coaches. And I'll say that out front because that's what we are. I've heard great stories from Lannis about his kids going to school. I was fortunate to coach at Walden Hills. We had great stories of kids going on to school, and you just put Shaq in.
Yeah.
And that story overwhelmed me when we talked about it on the phone
Sure.
3 months ago, 4 months ago. Because I remember Shaq, he looked like he could barely stand up when I saw him as a sophomore.
Yes.
And now he's playing Division I basketball because of good coaching. And that doesn't always mean wins as a coach. That means wins for the kids as a
Character, building
Yeah.
character.
Building character.
And when you speak about Roger Bacon, Coach, they lost maybe their best player,
Oh, Alex Pring.
And again, it just sort of emphasizes the point that was stated earlier about the kids leaving and the different levels of scrutiny. We seem to be governed by some different rules depending on which school the kid is going to. I just don't see the problem with wanting to play for Coach White or Coach Timmons, the history of getting kids in school even though you're not at a more prestigious school. And again, that's maybe a lesson, a message, and a deeper conversation for another day. Princeton has jumped up in the Division I rankings. They are number 1. I believe they had 9 votes, and I believe Moeller had 4. And not to cheapen this thing, cheapen Princeton's position, because they're very deserving of it. Moeller lost to CovCath, and they lost 2 out-of-state games, 1 in New York, I believe 1 in Pennsylvania. So they're still right there, probably as the best 2 teams in the city. CovCath is a really good basketball team who beat Moeller earlier, but Coach Timmons shared with me before we came on that Winton Woods beat
Yeah.
Cuff Cap by 1. Also, we want to continue to mention some of these players and the coaches that are doing a fine job. Andre Tate left Cincinnati State, he did a great job down there. A couple of runs to the national tournament. He's coaching at Winton Woods now. Coach was mentioning, can you speak on the Greg Triple kid, and then you can bounce it back to me. Coach, with some other points I want to make, but you saw the kid.
I seen the kid last year. I didn't see him this year, but from what I'm hearing, he kind of like picking up where he left off.
Mm-hmm.
And his jump shot has gotten better. That's what Coach Tate was telling me. And he was saying that he's becoming a better shooter. Because when I seen him last year, all I seen him, he was getting to the basket. He'd go left, go right, which you don't see a lot of high school kids. They either favor one hand or the other. But this kid could get to the basket either hand. Plus, he's saying he's jumping much better. Plus, he's grown a little bit too. He was 6'1" now. They say 6'3". And I'm watching Ohio State play somebody on TV last week, and they put the camera behind the bench. And who do I see? Greg Triple.
Wow.
The reason I'm bringing that up is to say that he's on that level now. He got that national attention. And I can see this kid, man, from what I'm hearing, and I'm going to get a chance to see him a couple times before it's over with, before the season is over with. But I see him really doing some good things for Winton Woods. And plus, with this win right here, you know how it is. Sometimes if you get a good win, it can kind of springboard you and gain some momentum, you know, for that little
This
stretch.
time of year.
Yeah, this time of year. I call it tournament stretch.
Herman says
Yeah.
second season.
Huh?
Second season.
Yeah.
Second
yeah.
season.
We mentioned in our last segment that this thing has a way of shaking itself out. Oak Hills is going to move up in the rankings because this week's rankings haven't come out yet, but Mason's lost to both Oak Hills and Princeton, so they'll be bumped from the 3 spot. McNicholas is held on in the Division II rankings. They're number 1 at, I believe, 10-0. I think Princeton is very deserving of that number 1 spot because they are 10-0 now. They play a very talented Pickering team
I'm going there.
tonight. Yeah, this evening. I believe Jerome Hunter is their standout wing player, so that'll be a great matchup for Darwishi Hunter or Darius Basie, whoever they choose to put on the kid. So this will be another great test for Princeton to prepare them for this tournament. One would be remiss if it didn't mention Coach Wyatt at Hughes and continuing to do a fantastic job, and also Coach Bradley, DeMarco Bradley at Taft, who I think our last segment that same day we went to the Woodward versus Taft game. I thought Woodward had a pretty good chance because they have the Durham kid. They're at home, really excited. They're a little down from losing to Little Miami, so they wanted to bounce back. And you don't need to hype these kids up for that game. That's just a natural rivalry. But Taft came in and did a tremendous job. DeMarco Bradley has these kids steady, playing the same way, hard, a lot of intensity, and they also got one of their better players back. His nickname is Grown Man, and Coach Timmons can speak to that.
Yeah, well, he's Stringer. The young man is Kershawn Stringer. And Coach Bradley has had him and his own son. He's coached these kids since they were in the 2nd grade. So you talking about being familiar with each other. Don't get too much better than that. Thing that he does well for his height and size is he get a lot of baskets around the basket, around the paint area. Has a decent shot. But I tell you what, if he had made his free throws, now he ended up with 20, but if he had made his free throws, he probably would end up with about 27 to 29 points. And plus he rebounds well, he handles the ball during the press offense. And so Coach Bradley, he was just overjoyed after the game. He used to coach for me. So, we still stay in touch sometime, but he would just tell me, T, what I tell you? What I tell you? I said, I told you that's all I needed was Stringer back. And once you watch them play, you can see that, But it was a good game, but they got a Taft and Woodward got to hook up again. I think the latter part of this month or either early
So
February.
you're getting into those second games in the league.
Yeah.
And the Stringer kid is a junior.
He's a junior.
Coming off an injury,
Coming up.
right? looked a little gimpy in the game. What I really liked about how they played is, Durham being the leading scorer, at least he was in the city. I'm not sure if he's still there. We can check that out and report here shortly. But the matchup, when Strager was matched up against Terry Durham, I mean, he received it. He welcomed the challenge. I remember, being at the game and how he kind of cleared it out like a 1-4 flat thing, and he took him, off the bounce, and he just welcomed the challenge to the guard defensively as well, and he willed his team to a victory in that game. He really did. He fouled out maybe fourth quarter, but he willed his team to a victory in that game. So again, this thing is going to shake out, guys, as we said. And what I'd also like to point out, we have to play by the rules that we're governed by. And you have to understand what I'm saying. High school basketball, there is no shot clock. College basketball, there is a shot clock. And that whole idea of playing smart coaches with that basketball IQ, when you come down the floor, and some of these teams, Deer Park, for example, has 3 to 4 guards on the floor, that's an almost insurmountable lead, 6, 7, 8 points, with a couple of minutes to go with good guards that make free throws. If you play the game intelligently, you stretch the floor, move the ball around, and force them to overplay, which time you backdoor get the easy basket. But again, not having a shot clock, it's the rules that you're governed by. You don't have to come down and jack up a lot of reckless shots. You see that with some of the teams, and they'll shoot themselves into a lead and shoot themselves right back out of it, when they're playing.
I've seen that a number of times. They have a kid, Jared Leila.
Yeah.
I want to say that's how you pronounce his last name. It's a kid over at Purcell. We were talking about
From
Purcell.
Finneytown.
No, he's from Finneytown, but he's at Purcell.
No, yeah, I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Transfer.
Oh, yeah. The reason I'm talking about him is because he's played in our fall basketball league at the Friars Club for 2 years now. So, and you talking about a kid that's a team player, good guy, all-around good guy.
Raw guy.
Keep his grades up.
We're talking about Purcell Mary?
Yes. A kid named Jared Baylock. He's a sophomore now. He was starting as a freshman at Finneytown, and could shoot the 3, take you off the dribble. And I'll tell you what I was impressed with him. Post-entry passes. And you don't see that too often with high school kids.
From the angle.
Yes, from the angle. He was doing that. And the good thing about it, after he threw it in, he didn't stand there. He ran away. Never taking his eyes off the ball, because a lot of times guys will throw that ball into the post and stand there with a smart guard going, like Coach Hunter when he played. You do that to him if you wanted to. He jabbing down there, jabbing down. You don't know if he coming all the way or not.
Double down.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's what I was impressed with him too.
From what I heard against Summit, he hit 4 threes in the fourth quarter, because that was his first game eligible.
Okay.
And he lit them.
Okay.
I mean, it just broke Summit back.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of, didn't have anything. We have a lot of talented players. Weekly, what we're going to do, and again, coaches, parents, players, contact us so we can promote you. We can help you. This show is about you as players. We want to promote you. We want to speak on the great things that the coaches, are doing. We want to speak on the fan bases, and just let this thing be totally interactive with us here with the Herald weekly high school basketball report and you. So communicate with us so we can promote you. On that note, I wanted to share a choice this week for our recruitable student athlete, and Damani McIntyre of Deer Park. We're talking a lot about him, but folks, go see him play. This is not a personal thing that they're getting favored. This is a very deserving team. Deer Park has been a doormat for years and years and years, but this team is capable of playing with anyone right now. Would you agree, Coach?
I was going to say, I told my wife, I said, you know what? They could play against Hughes. They could play against Taft. I say that's CMAC because I followed a lot, used to coach it. They can play with just about any of those teams. Hey, and I'm telling you, if they was in that conference right now, they would be right there neck and neck, first place with Hughes or Woodward or whoever. You know, Taft got the guys back. So, but I don't know. Woodward, I heard we lost a player, the McBride kid, through academics. So
Okay.
I want to see how that's going to pan out for Woodward now, because he was averaging close to 12 points a game. So I'd like to see, you know, how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because they're not a real deep.
They're not.
Coach Redden
I
has
know.
his hands full
Yeah.
with trying to get the kids to play together. Some of the challenges that he has with his team, and we're hoping he does well. We're going to support him and help out
Oh, yeah.
where he can. He's a young coach that sometimes reaches out.
Yeah.
And very humble, reaches out to some of us as older coaches, just picking our brains, and then he does it his way. But he's humble enough to reach out, you know, and ask for suggestions here or there. So real respecting for that. Again, back to this recruitable student athlete of the week, Damani McIntyre is a kid we spoke about earlier with Indiana to Oak Hill to here, 6'3". I interviewed him and his dad. I believe his dad's name is Richard McIntyre after the game, Deer Park versus Laughlin, and just impressive. The kid's got the high GPA, very mannerable kid. I had taken my wife and granddaughter to the game, and just to watch him, how he spoke to them and how mannerable and respectful he was toward my wife, but also toward our 6-year-old granddaughter. Just watching those kind of things, guys, it's almost lost. And I don't want to indict an entire generation because we've only seen a few kids when we say that and get frustrated, but we do see a lot of things that didn't seem to happen in our time, you know, with the behavior toward, you know, older adults. This kid is a throwback type of kid with his manners and his respect, and he's a very talented basketball player, but he also has the grades to get there. And we spoke at our last edition about how important that is and the number of kids that we lose or lose out on opportunities because the grades, the academics aren't there. So we want to feature Damani McIntyre this week, 6'3", 180 or so pound guard from Deer Park, continued success. Praying that he's actually a senior.
Oh,
His cousin
okay.
is a sophomore. And again, I said Pittsburgh, Navy, Xavier, UC are all showing some interest in this kid. So he's the real deal. So we want to feature him, and he may not need the help because these teams are aware of him. But if he doesn't make a commitment to one of those schools, we want to get his name out there and try to help him out so it does pan out for him, because he's a kid that needs to be in uniform with at least a mid-major Division I program, and he's going to be a plus to anyone's program. So again, parents, coaches, players, fans, reach out to us here at the Cincinnati Herald so we can continue to promote players and bring you information regarding all of these players. Coaches, anything as we close?
I just, want to talk about Ryan up there at Hughes High School. We
Yes.
talked about them. They've lost 2 games now. They're 10-2. They went to Columbus and lost to Eastmore by 4. Last year, Eastmore was in the region. They was in the region. That's what Coach Wine was telling me. And I'm going to go by their school, by their practice this coming week, and just get a little insight on what's going on with the program. So, but just looking forward to it. Man, I'm getting excited about this tournament draw coming up.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And everybody's the second time around.
Yeah.
Everybody playing each other again.
If you remember, I think it was 93, 94 when Coach Flynn was at at LaSalle his second year. He was 7-13, and he went on to win the state championship. That's why you call it second season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can
Oh,
change
absolutely.
the whole dynamic of your season with a run at the end.
Yeah.
And how many games you got to win? 6 to win the state?
I think it's 7.
According to how you get seated.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Sometimes 6,
Exactly.
sometimes
Oh, you
7.
need to win 7 in a row.
But sometimes, I tell you what, when I coached at Western Hills, when I had some decent teams, and at Woodward doing that one little stretch, if I had opportunity to go in and play right away, I was doing
Always
it.
do.
I never did really care
Yeah,
for
you
a
don't want
bye.
kids to sit.
I didn't want to turn the engine off, especially when you got it going good. You
Look-
know,
look
'cause
at
practice is practice and games is games.
And I look at the NFL. I think it's rough. Teams take off in that 16th week, and then the next week they have a game a little bit rusty. I thought the Rams could have performed better had they just went on and played. You know,
yeah.
so it's relevant. This week we have a lot of games going on. We do have Princeton, I would say, and Pickerton
I'm headed up there
as
in a few minutes.
the feature game.
Yeah,
It's a
headed
lot
up
of
there.
other
To the
games
hoop.
going on. Want to note that St. X is playing Moeller.
That's another team too. I did not mention. I even have it written down here. St. X. Watch out for them this year. I'm telling you, Coach Latham is doing a great job with them. I think they have lost only 3 games, 4 at the most. But, and I'm telling you this too, they haven't won a league game. I want to say 5 years.
5
maybe.
years. Yeah, it's been down for a while.
So from what I'm hearing, Elder and LaSalle, St. X can go ahead. They can get you this year.
Yeah.
That's just hearsay. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But
Elder and LaSalle have lost a few games.
yeah.
Walnut beat Elder, and I know for a fact Purcell beat LaSalle by 1 point.
Right.
So there's a chance for
Yeah.
X to jump back up in that
In the mix.
plateau. In the
Because
mix.
I tell you what, a number of those kids played in our fall league at the Friars Club. He has one kid that's 6'8", 6'9", 2 kids that's at least 6'6".
They
You
come-
know, so
they
I mean,
come-
and then his guard play is pretty decent.
They
I
come-
mean, he have a lot to work with. I mean, he's about 9 or 10 deep.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention St. X and Moeller because of what you had said at our last session, Coach. And I didn't realize St. X hadn't won a league game in that long. So I'm sure they're hungry, you know, to present well and get the W and put themselves back on the map. St. X has pretty good basketball history, just plays in a tough conference with a lot of good teams. So there are a lot of good games going on. It's going to shake out just as we spoke about. We'll continue to get out and get our eyes on these teams and particular players and the coaching styles and see who's progressing well toward tournament play and try to give you an accurate report here at Cincinnati Herald's weekly high school basketball report. So we thank you for joining us. And on behalf of Coach Walter White, Coach Lannis Timmons, again, I'm Victor Hunter. We're signing off and saying thank you and join us weekly